Okay, sorry for the poor quality. We're going all the way back to 1997. Here I shoot a double leg takedown, and my opponent reverses me right away, and he starts trying to throw punches, but actually doesn't connect with any of those. I re-guard, and I look for the elevator sweep, which is definitely one of my favorite sweeps, still is one of my favorite sweeps, but he bases, and after he bases, I catch his arm, and then when we turn over, I finish him by breaking his arm with the corkscrew arm bar. All right, everybody, so now for this next series, what we're doing for the blue belt test is what I've done is I've put together a bunch of like historical martial arts fights that really helped grow jiu-jitsu and meant something significant to my personal martial arts academy. And so I put together a lot of these fights, and basically for the blue belt promotion, you or your students are gonna kind of learn these fights, and you're gonna learn the submissions from the fights. Now, it was really hard for me to pick fights because I only had to pick like, a few of them, and there was so many that influenced me so much. Another thing is that I started going through all these historical matches, and many of them end the exact same way. There's a lot of rear naked chokes, there's a lot of arm bars, there's a lot of Kimura locks. And so I also had to say, okay, if I show this match this way, then that's an arm bar from the guard, and then we have, 20 others that I liked just as much, and they all showed the armbar from the guard, okay? And that's a good example of this first one. This first one is Justin Morris, that's me, versus Doug Murray. This is my first MMA fight, like a real MMA fight. This wasn't a professional mixed martial arts fight though, this was a Vale Tudo fight. This was a person who came into my martial arts academy and challenged me and wanted to fight me for real. And anyways, it's a long story, but he was a taekwondo, karate, black belt guy, a real big guy, and he didn't think I had any business teaching martial arts in his area because he owned the area or whatever. And so he fought me in an event called Extreme Challenge Fighting. I called the owner, Dave Strasser owned the event. He's an old UFC fighter. I called Dave and I said, man, I got this guy, he wants to fight me, no holds barred, like Vale Tudo rules, like no rules, no ref stoppage, nothing. Do whatever we want. He said, okay, cool. This was before the commission came in. And so he said we can do whatever we want. So I fought him. I armbarred him in about 30 seconds. I think it was 27 seconds actually. And the armbar, it reminds me of so many old fights. It reminds me of Royce Gracie versus Jason DeLucia the most. Because when I saw Royce break Jason DeLucia's arm in that old UFC, I was like, man, dude, I want to learn this. I really want to do this. And so it's a move that I trained a lot for. And the cool thing that I thought was cool is the guy came back to my academy 6 months later after his arm was healed. He challenged me again, and he said that I never broke his arm. He said that he slipped on the mat and his arm broke. And I said, no, man, I specifically trained for that. It was the corkscrew arm bar. And so today we're going to learn the corkscrew arm bar. When he came back to my school that 6 months later, I told him that he would have to fight one of my students first. He picked the smallest guy in the room. Little did he know that guy was like a brown belt world champion, and that guy destroyed him. Anyways, here's the move, all right, the corkscrew arm bar. So here we go, big punch, and the other person's gonna apply the takedown. So in this case, Leo's gonna punch me here, and I shoot in for the double leg takedown. Okay, now that we're on the ground, now Leo's gonna re-guard. Okay, now that Leo re-guarded, I'm going to throw a big punch. He's going to catch my punch off to the side, and he's going to turn his hips. He's reaching under my leg right now, and he's going to come up for the armbar. Now, here we are in the armbar. Just like my fight with Doug Murray, I had him in this armbar, and I was like going to be really respectful. I was looking for him to tap, and I was watching his hand, waiting for him to tap, and instead, he popped up and he started trying to punch. He missed the punch. And then what I did is he started to stack me. I went underneath and caught his arm. Now look at Leo catches my leg here, and now he's going to go underneath, bring the leg up. When I look at Jason DeLucia versus Royce Gracie, bite down on my head real good here, Leo. I look at Jason DeLucia with Royce Gracie, it was the same thing. Jason DeLucia stood up, they were against the fence, and Royce ended up moving him over this way, and go ahead and turn underneath me, Leo. And they fell here, boom! Oh, that's a really dangerous armbar because all of his weight is falling onto my arm. So that's that corkscrew arm bar. Okay, now all right, so that's that first technique, the corkscrew arm bar. Also, thanks to Royce Gracie for teaching me that in the early days, not just me seeing him in the UFC, but actually personally teaching it to me. Also, another person that I can say, two of my jiu-jitsu instructors, two of the ones that meant a lot to me, Marcelo Montero. He won a fight when I was his first MMA fight. I was there ringside with him, and he won the same fashion, same arm bar. Pedro Sauer, he fought Mr. Utah back in, I don't know, the late 80s, early 90s, and I happened to see that video on a VHS recording before I ever met Pedro Sauer, who eventually became one of my instructors and gave me my purple belt. And so I think it's cool to, like, you know, honor the people that kind of came before us in jiu-jitsu, even though that one I was talking about me a little bit. That's just because of the history of our martial arts academy, but again, you'll see that move over and over and over again, especially in the early days. Now, Leo, he asked me a question. So, well, what's the pace for the blue belt promotion? And then when I thought he meant, you know, how long does it take to get a blue belt? But that's not what he was asking. He's like, when you demonstrate these moves, you know, it's kind of like we're showing a historical fight. Do you do it the pace of the fight? Do you do it like really, really fast? I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know. This is an idea that I had for the blue belt promotion because my blue belt tests are so boring. I mean, all the blue belt tests I've ever seen, including mine, are always so boring. And I wanted to make something kind of exciting, something fun, something people could come out and demonstrate. So say, hey, show me Justin Morris versus Doug Murray. Show me Royce Gracie versus Jason DeLucia. And they come out and they do the moves in front of everybody, and people go, oh, wow, that's kind of a cool way to see the history of jiu-jitsu live, right? And then it's also giving you the mindset of, wow, I should go back and watch some of these historical fights. But what's the pace you want to do them at? Honestly, I don't know. Like, that's a good question. I think the individual person should determine the pace. I'm old, fat, half crippled. My pace has to be slow. So when you guys are watching this, in my mind, I feel like I'm going very fast, but I go back and I watch the videos and I'm like, ugh, I was moving in like slow motion. You know, a young guy like Leo, you know, I got a guy like 18 years old and two guys doing a blue belt test that are 18-year-olds, and they do this. I mean, yeah, they can throw down really hard. You want to do it really slow and methodical? You could do it like this, right here. You could go like this if you want. It would be passable. We'll start with a bow, make it look real traditional. We bring our hands up. I throw a leg kick. He throws a leg kick. He throws a wild punch. I come here. I change my level. I come in here. I go for the takedown. You know, you want to do it really slow and step-by-step methodical. So you could do it that way too. Okay, sorry for the poor quality. We're going all the way back to 1997. Here I shoot a double leg takedown, and my opponent reverses me right away, and he starts trying to throw punches, but he actually doesn't connect with any of those. I re-guard, and I look for the elevator sweep, which is definitely one of my favorite sweeps, still is one of my favorite sweeps, but he bases, and after he bases, I catch his arm, and then when we turn over, I finish him by breaking his arm with the corkscrew arm bar.